Hi guys, it's Mark Zicree of Space Command, also known as Mr. Sci-Fi, and Mark Zicree of Star Trek, as well as many other shows. I wanted to do a video just for you guys to tell you why we're doing the new Kickstarter campaign that's imminent, and to address any concerns, any wondering of what's going on, all of this stuff. And essentially, let me put it in perspective. The new Kickstarter campaign will run 30 days, and it's specifically to raise money for VFX and post-production costs. That's basically sound, music, color correction, those kind of things, for the first 2-hour story, Space Command Redemption, our 2-hour pilot for Space Command. This is what we raised the money for on the original Kickstarter campaign that got everything going. And let me put everything in perspective, because some people are saying, not a lot, most people are along for the ride, and I really appreciate your patience and your support. It really means a lot to me, and I've been consistently working on Space Command. Don't think that I've let this thing lie fallow at any point in the last few years. So here's basically what's going on. To put this in perspective and to allay any concerns about whether we'll get done, when we'll get done, all of that stuff, we have shot the entire 2-hour story. Every single line, every single frame is there. It's with Bob Picardo, Doug Jones, Mira Furlan, Bill Mumy, Bruce Boxleitner, Mike Harney of Orange is the New Black, etc. So, and all of our stars that we found through our worldwide talent search, Ethan McDowell, Brian McClure, etc. So it's there. You can actually watch it from beginning to end. What's not in place are the visual effects, and even the music. You know, David Raiklin has been along for the ride since the beginning. He's our wonderful co-producer and composer, so music is not a problem. All the other departments have not been a challenge, but visual effects has been. And so let me put this all in perspective for you, because originally I was saying that we could do Space Command for a much lower number. I was basing that on the kind of films Neil Johnson was doing, but he's essentially a one-man band doing most of his own visual effects, and certainly coming up with amazing work for that budget. But with Space Command, I always had a very, very high ambition, and to really go toe-to-toe with the networks, just like I did on World Enough in Time, the Star Trek episode with George Takei that I did. I didn't intend to bring that level of quality down at all. I've always, in my whole career, I've always aspired to high quality and pulled it off. But this is the first time I wasn't working in a studio hierarchy. So everything else I'd done, other than World Enough in Time, was Paramount, Universal, Warner's, etc., MGM, and the hierarchy was already there. I didn't have to build it from the ground up. With Space Command, even with Star Trek New Voyages, the sets had already been built, the costumes were there for the most part. But with Space Command, we had built everything from the ground up, and this very quickly, it was obvious to me that we were going to need more money, and it was going to take more time. And all along the road, I've been posting about that, keeping you guys in the loop. Some of you may be checking these backers updates, some of you may not. But all I can do is, I'm making a phone call, and if someone picks up on the other end, that's up to them to pick up or not. But I've been trying to maintain communication. So with Space Command, the first thing I did, all of the money from the initial Kickstarter campaign was specifically used to shoot the first 2-hour story. So as soon as the campaign finished, I sat down, I wrote the first 8 hours of Space Command, because during the campaign, as I talked about the story, it grew and grew and grew. The universe grew, and so I sat down and completed the 8 hours, outlined hours 9 through 12, the first season, and then put the money toward building the studio, hiring an art director, building the sets, building the costumes, bringing Ian McKay aboard to design our characters, all of that stuff. Reached out to Doug Jones, Bob Picardo, Mira Furlan, Bill Mumy. I wrote those roles for them, specifically for them. Had lunch with Mike Harney and said, hey, you want to be in Space Command? And he said, sure. So there was no lag. It was simply the time it took to build the production. And if you look at a movie like Blade Runner 2049 or any of these shows or any of these movies, they take years to make, always. From initial concept to writing the script to shooting it, it always is years. There's never a short runway in terms of that time frame. So as I saw that I would have to step up more and more and more, I did it. I just did it. And the first step was shooting it, and we shot it. We shot it in 2 phases. So we could get the most bang for our buck, and then I started raising investment capital, and that worked very, very well. And then as soon as we were done shooting, I was going to close down the studio to lower that overhead, but I saw I could shoot 35 minutes more with just a little more money. Reached out to the investors, they came up with a little more money. We shot 35 minutes of the second Space Command story, Forgiveness. So where we are now is we've shot 2.5 hours of Space Command. The first 2 hour story, 35 minutes of the second one, and even the opening sequence of the third one, Great Solar War, because I had something in mind that wasn't going to cost any money, basically. The actors were there, the sets were there, the costumes, so we just grabbed it. And that's in the new trailer that you'll be seeing very shortly. And but to put all of this in perspective, yes, I underestimated how expensive it would be. I underestimated how long it would take, and I apologize for that. But in terms of what I promised, which was to make this and have it be wonderful and bring the actors I was talking about aboard, I've done all of that, and I'm very pleased with what we've shot. I cannot wait to share this with you. But I think if I sent you the rough cut without all the visual effects aboard, you would be very disappointed, and you would not know what you were looking at. It would not have the persuasiveness, because we're all used to watching finished TV shows, finished movies, and it takes a very special kind of eye to look at a green screen shot and know what's going to be there. And so I didn't want to send out unfinished work. But just again, to put it in perspective, the average hour, let's say the average hour of Star Trek Discovery costs $8 to $10 million. I've shot 2.5 hours of Space Command for less than a tenth of that. So we've done, and this has more visual effects, more everything than any episode of Star Trek Discovery would ever have. And so again, just in terms of our ambition and what we're delivering, it's huge. So now the reason I'm doing the Kickstarter campaign, and this is where you can pledge or you don't have to. You'll get what you've requested. All of it will be delivered, and it's just taking longer. That's all. We've already sent out the patches, the posters, the T-shirts, the downloadable score. The composer's sketchbook. Everything, the scripts, the signed Twilight Zone companions. Just haven't sent the timepieces and the Paladin, the model ships of the Paladin, but all of that will be coming. But also, what's most important, of course, is the film, the thing itself. And so here's where we are right now. From the beginning, I knew that VFX was going to be a challenge. Doug Drexler left the project as soon as the campaign ended. That was creative differences. Stuff happens. But it was still my responsibility to deliver what I'd promised and what you guys had paid for. And so I took that very seriously. So immediately, I was in conversations with VFX artists. I brought Jeff Mark from Serenity and Battlestar Galactica aboard. Jeff did some wonderful work and is still in communication with me. We're still moving toward the finish line. And then I used Tobias Richter in Germany, who's a phenomenal artist, and I even went to Spain, where I met with a VFX school to see if I could get the work from them. But the work that they were doing, they never did the work of the quality we needed. Just didn't work out. That's the breaks. But again, the big studios can plug in money. For instance, a movie like Blade Runner 2049, a couple $100 million, so they can just throw money at a problem. But I had to be more resourceful. So what I've done is kept looking for talented people and kept raising money from investment shares. And Threshold Films has been working on the first 35 minutes. They've delivered hundreds of shots. We're moving toward completion, but I want to get this done and get it done well and get it done right. So I've been in conversations with Tobias Richter, met with him when I ended up, oddly enough, in Dusseldorf. I missed a flight, connecting flight, and found myself in Dusseldorf. So he and I had dinner a few months ago. Crazy stuff. But he's a great guy, incredibly talented. He modeled the Paladin off Star Wars artist Dave Dorman's original design, and phenomenally talented guy. So all of the elements are coming together, and very shortly what I want to do, I've broken the first 2 hours into 4 acts, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4. Very soon, I hope to send Act 1 to all of you, so you can see the first 35 minutes completed. And meantime, I'm pitching Space Command, working to sell it as a show. Again, all of this is toward getting the money toward completion, getting the money toward fulfillment. And beyond that, I think the world needs to see this hopeful vision. For me, Space Command really hits that hopeful vision of the future that was Roddenberry's intent, that was the intent of Star Trek The Next Generation, etc. But I think you'll really like it. Doug Jones, Mira Furlan, everyone gives a spectacular performance. I'm really thrilled with it. The look of it is great. But the point is, the short and long of all of this is, I had to keep raising money, and there's only 3 ways to do it, as I've mentioned: Kickstarter campaign, investment capital, and selling the show. If anyone wants to invest in Space Command, it's $7,500 a share. That's great. I really appreciate it. You'll share in my profits from the first 4 episodes when the show sells. Beyond that, there's a Patreon page. You can donate a little bit of money every month. can be as low as $5. Every little bit helps. But it became very clear to me that a Kickstarter campaign would be something to do to help speed the plow. And that's what we're doing. And many people, David Raiklen pointed out to me that many people who see this campaign, the new one, will not have heard of Space Command, will not have heard of this project. So that's great, because again, the more people we can bring to the fold, the more people who want to see this kind of show, this kind of story, the better. And it all helps. So we're not far from being done. We're really not. But it's going to take money, and that's just the realities. And so it won't take as much money as Star Trek Discovery or the Orville or even what these guys spend on catering, but it will take funds. So if you can donate to the Kickstarter campaign, if you can spread the word, that's much appreciated. Many of you know I'm doing the Mr. Sci-Fi channel on YouTube. Please subscribe to that. I'm posting about stuff all the time, and very soon we'll be sharing with you the 6-minute new Space Command trailer, which shows scenes from the first season of Space Command. So that's it for now. Thanks for everything. I really appreciate all of your support, all of your help, all of your faith, and we'll be talking again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.